Welcome to another episode of Beyond the White Book. I'm Dark Notch. This is Aaron Glazer. Say hi, Aaron.
Hello.
And more importantly, this is Chris. He's joining us today to help us tweak the deck that Aaron will be taking to face DC Dennis in the Octagon tournament. Aaron and Dennis are one of the only two people that are undefeated to date. And Dennis will be playing a Fealty Greyjoy deck. Is that correct, Aaron?
That's accurate.
And we brought Chris on because we hear he's an expert in the Greyjoy house. Is that
What?
right,
No,
Chris?
no, not at all. He's been building
Nope.
this deck with me.
Well, he's not an expert at Greyjoy. What is he doing on the show?
That is an excellent question.
Do you have an answer? Because I do.
Aaron and I have been both playing the Lannister Banner of the Wolf deck during the Octagon tournament, and I played it during Red Saturday as well in New York. And we've been tweaking decks every week as we look at the matchups to just customize the deck a little bit based on what we know we're going to see that week.
Oh, so you're the intelligence behind Aaron's win streak today. Now everything is clear for me.
I mean, I'll take it.
Intelligence is clearly not me.
All right, Aaron, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the deck that I'm looking at right now? Maybe go through the characters and tell us why you included some and didn't others, and Chris can kind of chime in since he has more experience with this deck than I do.
The deck is. This is not the version I played in round 5, despite what it says. Someone asked for a general version of the deck to see if they could play it. I believe that would be Ryan Jones. And so I edited it into like a more general form for him. The characters sort of built themselves. The character that is missing that I would like more, that I would like, and I think we add for this matchup in particular, is the Tumblestone Knight. Eddard is actually way better than he gets credit for, in that um, that stand is really good at just making your opponent's life difficult. If they have stealth, they have to continually stealth him, which lets your other guys like Tywin and the Hound do extra work, and that Renown really does speed up the game. Uh, Jamie at 2 of is in most of my Lannister decks. He adds really good speed. He's a very good character, very hard to get off the board once he's on, and that stand really does pay off. I'm considering going up to 3 specifically for this matchup because when Greyjoy is good, what I found is it really wants to go second. So I'm half assuming that Greyjoy will be.
Yeah,
Um,
I almost guarantee that Dennis is probably playing a more standard go first Greyjoy, smash your
uh,
face, win on turn 2 or 3
no,
with Rise of the Kraken.
no, he. I mean, I don't think he will be playing that, judging by the fact that he's winning. And like Greyjoy Fealty that goes first a lot tends not to be that good. It's a better deck when it goes second. And if you would really like to go second, that's like really like to go first, that's fine too, especially with guys like Eddard.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a good point that you're trying to make about Greyjoy Fealty is basically that your stealth has more value if they've already knelt a bunch of their characters out.
Yeah.
So, what I've noticed that jumps out to me about this deck is 12 events. That seems a little high. You know, I like to run around 9 or 10, but 12 seems a bit too much. What made you decide on 12 events here?
I go somewhere between 9 and 12, almost exclusively. Last round was Targ Fealty. The Hand Judgment are a leftover backup plan because Dracarys is such a nightmare. That's why we're at 3 brand instead of 2 as well.
So, are those changes you think you'd make for Greyjoy then? You would reduce your brand down to 2 and take out some of the Hand's Judgment?
I think we can functionally cut Hand Judgment. Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I would say Hand's Judgment was the first thing I looked at here that I would say for a Greyjoy matchup you would want to change. The only events they're going to be playing are Put to the Sword, which you're often not going to have the 2 gold to want to cancel, and um,
Oh, Chris.
Rise of the or Risen from the Sea, which I mean, great if you can cancel it, but it's not
Typical.
game defining.
Because it cancels
The
for
way
nothing for you.
Darkness is. Right. And we do not sow. And I just don't think that's enough impact to warrant the Hand's Judgment probably just sitting in your hand a lot of the time.
I agree, but I do think I want to go up to 3 tiers of lists, most of
Oh,
which
yeah.
characters lack intrigue.
Oh,
But
without question.
it's still 11 events. In addition, I really, really do like things I do for love for Greyjoy. It's been in and out of the deck depending on the matchup, but Greyjoy very often has a hard time getting a really big board presence and plays a lot of small guys. And Greyjoy also very often plays Wildfire, which increases the impact of things as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So I'd almost, drop the Hand's Judgment, probably go down to 2 put, because pushing through those military challenges against Greyjoy by winning by 5 is actually going to be more difficult than other
Well,
matches.
I actually think I disagree. Like, they don't really want to be kneeling to defend with any of their big bodies. Their big bodies tend to be used so offensively that Foot to the Sword has been really effective for me against Greyjoy. Because like Balon, think about it, like Balon, Asha, and Theon all really want to attack. The army will be played, but not in a huge number, which really leaves Euron as a big defender. Other than that, like a Jaime and a Hound will usually win me almost anything by 5 unless they're really overcommitting,
I
which
think,
I'm fine.
I think in the fealty decks they have to run 3 of the army and 3 of their other 3 cost for 3 strength, military, and power, and because of that, they usually chump block with those guys and use, like you were saying, the Ashas, the Balons, and stuff to win the challenges on offense. So in the games I played, and I haven't played a lot against Greyjoy, so take that with a grain of salt. The puts have been hard to put through.
I haven't had any real trouble with Lannister.
Yeah, I don't think it's that difficult to get a Put to the Sword through.
Yeah, I'm gonna totally keep to it.
So you're going to be running 11 events.
I think so. So location wise, I think I'm just more or less happy. I'd really like to try and fit an Iron Throne and a Cersei's Wheelhouse, but I'm not sure they're going to fit.
The
So,
wheelhouse was what I was thinking, because again, going on what you were saying earlier, if you assume the Greyjoy wants to go second, then Cersei's wheelhouse helps make that a punishing choice for them.
right.
Yeah, you guys are saying that you think Greyjoy wants to go second. I don't have that feeling as much. Asha stands back up. That's a reason for me to go first in Greyjoy. The ships get stronger.
Right, but she doesn't stand back up if you chump block, and you're a lot less likely to have anyone to chump block if you're doing
I mean, even in we've only played maybe 2 or 3 games with our Greyjoy deck, Aaron, and in a lot of cases we wanted to go before our opponent, maybe more than 50%.
It was specifically when we had Kill in hand. The only
Exactly.
real reason for Greyjoy to go first is Balon with Kill.
Yeah, and he'll
Oh,
definitely be running that, right?
right, but like if I can kill his Balon, then going second again gets better. I don't think it's like a 3-0, but I think a 1-0. Worst case, it's a really good setup card.
All right. Why don't you update with what we talked about, dropping the Hand's Judgment?
Do we want an Iron Throne?
I mean,
I
ideally, yes, because you want to help neutralize damp air, but space is tight, so
Probably not.
You know what neutralizes damp hair? Tears. And you're only
killing
running
him,
3 of
right?
them. Yeah.
Okay, that's totally fine then. Um,
So let's
the
go
deck
back to
is
your
updated.
characters. Um, you were saying you wanted to squeeze in some more Stark characters. Specifically, there are 2 cost for 2 strength military power icon.
Mhm.
So what were you thinking to cut for that?
Give me 1 second. The deck has to reload. So I really think the thing the deck doesn't need for this matchup, it's a good card, not a great card for it, is the Queen's Assassins. Defense is so important that I feel like 2 Tumblestone is better than 2 Queen's Assassins.
Right. And you were saying you were going to go down to 2 Bran as well, right? Maybe that'll squeeze out your 3 Tumblestone.
We did cut the whatchamacallit, the Hand's Judgment, so I think I'm good with 3. Any thoughts on that, Chris?
Um, I can see an argument for 2 or 3. I definitely agree the Queen's Assassin can be cut. My experience with the Queen's Assassin has not been as successful as Aaron's has, so I find they are often either phenomenal or virtually a dead card and claim soak. Um, and in this particular matchup, certainly Tumblestone Knights are going to be able to do a lot more work chump blocking everybody but Balon. basically. 3 Bran I do like a lot. I think that having Bran on the board every game just forces the opponent to play in such a distorted fashion that it's worth it just to make sure you get him out every game.
Yeah,
All right.
I
So
think
it sounds like 2 Queen's Assassin are coming out and 2 Tumbleside Knights are going in. I think
um,
that's a very solid change.
do we want to keep 3 Hound? I think so.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That
That high
really,
strength is so key versus Balon.
yeah. And incredible because he's so hard to stealth because you can just spend the extra gold to ambush him.
I like to talk about your plots.
Before we get there, can we look at attachments?
I was going to ask, do we find a way to fit Milk of the Poppy in, given Balon?
Milk of the Poppy is so good against Greyjoy. I don't know if we have space. We're at exactly 61, and something else has to come out.
Do you
Um,
need 3 seals for this matchup?
yeah. 3 seals is there for a very strict, is there as a counter and protection against the location that kills stuff. That's name escapes me. Sea Stone Chair.
Okay.
So I can see dropping one of the Lannister, however. I found that it's really hard to play against Greyjoy because against Greyjoy you need such board presence that taking the time to stop and spend 3 gold is often difficult.
And
Yeah,
on
you
top of
can't
that, once they
afford.
get that unopposed, they blow up your location and you cry a little inside.
Yeah, exactly. So cut down one Lannister, or do we want to cut Lannister?
I think you just cut it at that point. If you're going to run one, you're not really expecting to see it, so you might as well just chop the whole thing.
Okay. So we go 2 milk.
I think so.
Okay. 2 milk in the place of that, and I think that basically fills out the actual draw deck. 9 locations. We are a little setup light, but the low cost curve of the character should be good. There's one more character I guess we should talk about.
I'd
Two
like you to
Varys, right?
save and update first, just so we have the most recent list.
Saves. Just 2 Varys seem right.
Absolutely against Greyjoy.
Yeah, I think that feels right.
Yeah, I mean, if they get out ahead and I can stall for a turn, then I think it's just awesome. So I think I know what plot John is going to suggest.
Well, I was going to ask, what are we taking out to put Game of Thrones in?
Yeah, sneak attack for Game of Thrones, I think, is what John's going to suggest too.
I have 2 plots that I wanted to suggest. One was Game of Thrones, obviously. I mean, Greyjoy has really lack of intrigue icons, so being able to play Game of Thrones on like their Rise turn or something can just make them cry inside. But
Or
I
even on a sneak attack turn to start?
exactly,
Yeah.
or an opening with sneak. But I really also like fortified position versus Greyjoy. Blanking their characters has a bigger impact in general than blanking your own in a Lannister to Banner of the Wolf, especially in a Rise turn where you can just shut off that stealth, shut off Balin's ability, and say, you were planning on getting 8 power, you're getting none.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's a really good
Um,
stabilizer for you.
so I'm absolutely cutting sneak attack. It's not great in this matchup. Um,
And Game of Thrones is mandatory in this matchup,
yeah.
so
The question is, I like the idea of fortified a lot. I don't.
It's also a nice 5 gold plot, so it lets you really get in the game, stabilize your position. You know, it's a nice round 2 or 3 opener, whenever you think they're going to try for that Rise, if you've already used your game.
Yeah, I really like the idea of fortified here. I just can't think of what I want. Like confiscation, like the
I
rest of
think
the plots feel almost mandatory. So what are we thinking of cutting?
You know, you love that calm, but are you going to be opening with calm or are you going to opening with game?
Calm.
I think
Okay.
being able to use both of them back to back against Greyjoy is really useful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you go calm, game, fortified, and you probably win at that point, which
Um.
means you're not going to be playing noble.
mm, No, can't cut the big gold for.
No, you need noble. Counting coppers is the question mark, I
I
think.
think counting coppers almost has to be it because if we can whittle their board, we're running 6 kill cards and 2 bounce to hand.
I mean, March could be one of the things you could look at as well. Like you said, though, Greyjoy has low board presence, so it's always nice to march a big guy. But that
Yeah,
could be one of the other things you can consider cutting.
I think you have to keep marched here.
Yeah, I think counting coppers is the call.
So it's sneak and counting coppers for the 2 defensive plots to shut
32
down the Greyjoy.
Yep. So I am shutting off a fair amount of my own stuff with fortified. It's possible it's 7th plot, but it's also, if not, so amazing. Also, when he gets to 8 or 9 power, he can usually um, immediately just to rise to win. So fortified. I don't even know if I'm playing fortified third. I think I'm trying to save to that point. Yeah, good decision. The only other card I was really considering, which is probably a bad call, but I think it's worth discussing. This deck handles Sirius training very well.
Yeah, there are several useful targets. Arya is a surprisingly useful serious training target, just giving you the ability to use her duplicates rather than have them sit for the icon.
Tyrion, I mean, he's got stealth
Yep.
again.
Even that,
Even even Sansa, just
yeah,
being able to throw her into whatever to chump block and gain the power.
I like it. I don't think it's above anything we have.
No.
Yeah, that's space is the issue there.
It also might be better for a different matchup. It's like that extra stealth is extremely powerful against, for example, Baratheon, where you can just sort of bypass Bob that way. Against other Lannister, it's really powerful because they're not expecting it. But against Greyjoy, like getting that military icon, you're basically going to using it for a way as a way to like get extra stealth, and like they have
They have a
stealth,
ton. Yeah,
not getting
exactly.
it.
They have a ton of stealth already. I think with those plot changes, you're probably pretty pretty set. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to get through both Fortified, Calm over Westeros, and a Game of Thrones. I think that's really going to allow you to solidify your board presence. And once you have a solidified board presence, you've won.
My concern with Game of Thrones is this deck is actually really intrigue light.